Ancient tunnels lie hidden beneath your feet, holding proof of a globally connected past. These mysterious cave systems form a network of subterranean highways, once linking distant civilizations. By the end of this journey, you will see the ancient world not as isolated cultures, but as a deeply intertwined community. We will explore evidence of shared symbols and impossible artifacts that defy our history books. How do you think ancient people crossed continents without the technology we have today? Deep beneath the rolling hills of Kentucky lies a darkness that swallows distance itself. The Mammoth Cave complex is not merely a cave, it is an entire subterranean world, a labyrinth of over 420 explored miles that makes it the longest known cave system on our planet. For thousands of years, this place has drawn people into its silent depths, but these ancient explorers were not just casual visitors. We have found their footprints preserved in the soft mud, lasting proof of their journeys. They came with purpose, venturing miles underground with only flickering torchlight to guide them, mining for precious gypsum and other minerals as early as 4,000 years ago. The walls they passed are etched with intricate petroglyphs, symbols whose meanings are now whispers from a forgotten time. This was far more than a quarry. It was a sacred space, a spiritual destination that required immense courage and knowledge to navigate. The scale of their underground travel is almost unbelievable. How did they memorize such a vast and treacherous network? What kind of sophisticated oral mapping or storytelling was required to pass this knowledge through generations? The very existence of such deep, sustained activity suggests these cultures possessed a profound understanding of the underground that rivals our own. And this raises a haunting possibility. If ancient peoples could master a cave system of this immense scale, were they also capable of using other subterranean pathways to connect across even greater distances? To explore that idea, we must journey far from North America to a completely different continent and an even more enigmatic discovery. Across the Mediterranean Sea, an entirely different kind of mystery lies buried beneath the island of Malta. The Hypogeum of Hal Saflieni is a breathtaking subterranean sanctuary carved entirely from solid limestone more than 5,000 years ago. This is not a natural cave adapted by humans, but a colossal structure hewn from the living rock, a multi-level complex of halls, chambers, and passages descending deep into the earth. For centuries, it served as both a sacred temple and a vast burial ground, with the remains of over 7,000 individuals discovered within its silent walls. One chamber in particular reveals the builders' incredible understanding of their environment. Known as the Oracle Chamber, this room possesses acoustic properties so perfect and so intentional that a voice spoken in a certain tone can resonate through the entire underground complex. A single sound can be transformed, vibrating through the stone with an otherworldly power that must have felt like magic or a direct channel to the divine. The purpose of this sonic engineering is lost to time, but its effect is undeniable. Who were the people who designed this, and what knowledge did they possess that allowed them to shape stone with such precision? The artifacts found within offer another layer of intrigue. Unique figurines like the famous Sleeping Lady were discovered here. These artifacts do not exist in a vacuum. They share striking stylistic similarities with objects found in contemporary cultures in nearby Sicily and across the Mediterranean. This suggests a sharing of ideas, a cultural exchange that crossed the open sea. The Hypogeum stands as a monument not to an isolated island culture, but to a people who were likely part of a wider, interconnected world. How did such an advanced complex influence, or was it influenced by, other ancient societies? The search for these connections now leads us away from the sun-drenched Mediterranean into the misty highlands of Scotland and a cave system shrouded in Celtic myth. The mists of Celtic Scotland give way to the rolling green hills of Cheshire in England, where the rocky outcrop of Alderley Edge rises from the landscape. This place is deeply woven into the fabric of Arthurian legend, said to be the resting place of a sleeping king and his knights who await their call to save Britain. But beneath the myths lies a tangible reality, a sprawling network of natural caves and ancient copper mines that have been exploited since the Bronze Age. This was far more than a simple mining operation. It was a center of industry and wealth for millennia. The true mystery, however, was unearthed not in the form of copper, but as a small, intricately carved piece of jewelry. Discovered within the caves was the Alderley Edge shale armlet, a beautiful bracelet whose unique spiral and geometric designs do not belong solely to Britain. They are a mirror of artistic styles found in artifacts from distant continental Europe, suggesting its creator was part of a shared cultural language that crossed the English Channel. How did such a specific design language travel so far? The location of these caves provides a compelling clue. They sit strategically near what we now know were major ancient trade routes, paths that moved not only raw copper, but also finished goods, technologies, and beliefs between the isolated British Isles and the European mainland. This makes Alderley Edge a likely hub, a place where people from different cultures would have met and exchanged more than just metal. The local legends themselves hint at this deeper connection, as the tale of the sleeping king under the hill is a powerful motif found in many other Indo-European myths, from Germany to the Slavic lands. This is not an isolated story, it is a shared cultural dream that points to a common, ancient root. So the evidence here is twofold: a physical artifact with a foreign design and a myth that resonates across a continent. This points to a Britain that was actively engaged with its neighbors, connected by both trade and tradition. To see how far these subterranean connections might truly reach, we must now travel to a cave of such stunning natural beauty that it feels like a portal to another world. Far from the Celtic mists in the lush green hills of New Zealand's North Island, a different kind of underground wonder awaits. The Waitomo Glowworm Caves are a universe of living light, where the ceiling of a subterranean grotto mirrors a starry night sky. This breathtaking spectacle is created by countless bioluminescent glowworms, a natural phenomenon that draws visitors from across the globe. Yet, long before this place became a modern wonder, it was known intimately by the Maori people, whose history with these caves spans centuries. For the Maori, Waitomo was never just a beautiful sight, it was a part of their cultural and spiritual fabric. These caves served as sacred burial grounds and silent places of learning, where knowledge was passed down through generations. The very name Waitomo reflects this deep connection, derived from their words for water and shaft or entrance, speaking to the river that flows through the caverns. The presence of the Maori here is itself a testament to an incredible journey. Their ancestors, master navigators of the vast Pacific Ocean, used the stars, the waves, and the flight of birds to voyage across thousands of miles of open water to reach these islands. Their oral traditions and genealogies, known as Wakapapa, preserve the memory of these epic migrations and sometimes speak of ancestral homelands and connections to other Polynesian cultures. While a physical tunnel stretching across the Pacific is an impossibility, the shared practices and beliefs surrounding such caves point to a different kind of network. The reverence for underground spaces as portals to the ancestors, as places of ritual and burial, is a common thread found throughout Polynesia. This suggests a cultural and intellectual network, a shared spiritual worldview that traveled with these intrepid voyagers across the world's largest ocean. Does this represent a connection of the spirit and mind, rather than stone and earth, between distant island peoples? To find a more concrete archaeological puzzle, we must now travel to a sun-scorched desert where a cave revealed an object that should not exist. Deep within a horseshoe-shaped cliff in India, the Ajanta caves stand as a breathtaking testament to faith and artistry. 30 distinct monuments were not built, but meticulously carved from the solid rock face over centuries, beginning more than 2,000 years ago. These were living, breathing centers of Buddhist monastic life, their walls adorned with some of the most exquisite and ancient paintings in the world, depicting the life of the Buddha and stories from his previous incarnations. But a closer look at these masterpieces reveals a mystery that stretches far beyond the Indian subcontinent. The artistic styles, the specific postures of the sculpted figures, and the intricate religious iconography found at Ajanta are not unique to this one location. They share a startling family resemblance with art found in the cave temples of Central Asia and even along the Silk Road in distant China. This is not a coincidence. These caves were not isolated hermitages. They were buzzing hubs on a vast intellectual and trade network, places where monks, merchants, and artisans from different cultures would meet and exchange far more than goods. They shared Buddhist scriptures, debated philosophical ideas, and passed on sophisticated artistic techniques. The very method of carving entire temples from a mountainside is a technological marvel that appears in different parts of the ancient world. How did such specific artistic and architectural knowledge travel thousands of miles across deserts and mountains? The Silk Road provided the physical pathways, but these cave monasteries were the spiritual and cultural stations along that route, ensuring that ideas moved with the same fluidity as silk and spices. This demonstrates a conscious, sustained effort to connect and share a worldview across immense distances. If such a sophisticated network of cultural exchange existed in the ancient Old World, could a similar phenomenon have occurred an ocean away, completely independent of Eurasian influence? The answer may indeed lie in another network of caves, this time hidden deep within the Americas. Deep beneath the Mexican state of Chihuahua, in the stifling heat of the Naka mine, a cavern of pure fantasy was discovered. The Cave of the Crystals is a geological wonder, a chamber 300 meters underground where colossal selenite crystals, some the size of ancient trees, thrust from the floor and walls in a silent, shimmering forest. These are the largest natural crystals ever found on Earth, a monument to the planet's slow, patient power. Humans could never have lived in this hostile environment, yet the region above it vibrates with a history deeply tied to the world below. This is the land of the Maya, a civilization that saw caves not as empty voids, but as sacred portals to Xibalba, their formidable underworld. For the Maya, these openings in the earth were the mouths of the gods, places of profound spiritual communication where rituals of birth, death, and renewal were performed. They ventured into the darkness to make offerings, to commune with ancestors, and to seek visions. This concept of the cave as a liminal space, a threshold between our world and a spirit world, is not unique to the Maya. We find it echoed throughout Mesoamerica and, remarkably, in the distant Andes of South America. Separated by vast jungles and mountains, these cultures independently developed a strikingly similar cosmography. They shared the idea of a layered universe with the sky, the earth, and a subterranean realm all intricately connected. This points to something deeper than shared trade routes. It hints at a shared layer of human psychology. Is our collective fascination with the underground a fundamental part of the human experience? Do we all, on some innate level, see the darkness below as a place of both fear and potential, of death and rebirth. This thematic link is a powerful, invisible thread tying together cultures that never met. Yet, to move from the realm of ideas to the realm of physical proof, we must now turn to a cave that yielded an artifact so out of place it seems to defy the very map of the ancient world. The Mediterranean Sea holds a secret entrance, one that now lies deep beneath its waves. Off the coast of Marseille, the entrance to the Cosquer cave is a dark, flooded tunnel that divers must navigate to reach a chamber frozen in time. Inside, the air is still and ancient, and the walls are a gallery of masterpieces from a lost world. These are not mere scratches on stone, but vibrant, sophisticated paintings of bison, ibex, and marine animals like seals and penguins, created by Paleolithic artists 27,000 years ago. Their hand stencils, made by blowing pigment around a hand pressed against the rock, feel like a direct, personal greeting from the deep past. This art is breathtaking, but the true mystery of Cosquer is its location. During the last ice age, this entire area was not a sea but a wide, fertile coastal plain. The cave's entrance was easily accessible on dry land, a shelter for people who hunted across a landscape that now lies submerged under hundreds of feet of water. The cave itself is a time capsule from a different world, a world whose geography has been utterly erased by rising seas. Even more compelling is the art style. Those distinctive hand stencils and the techniques used to paint the animals are not unique to this one French cave. They are part of a shared artistic language, a common tradition found in caves hundreds of miles away in Spain and elsewhere in Europe. This suggests that prehistoric people, despite the vast distances and harsh conditions of the Ice Age, were not isolated tribes. They were part of a widespread cultural network, connected by shared beliefs and practices that they expressed on cave walls from one end of the continent to the other. How many other caves like Cosquer, now hidden beneath the ocean, hold the missing pieces of this prehistoric cultural map? To find answers, we must now seek out a cave that preserved not just paintings but words. While the Cosquer cave preserved images, another cave system halfway across the world safeguarded words. Carved into a desert cliff face along the ancient Silk Road, the Mogao caves of Dunhuang stand as a library of the ancient world. This was not a single cavern but a honeycomb of hundreds of temples, a spiritual oasis at the crossroads of civilizations. For over 1,000 years, this was a bustling international hub where the footsteps of monks, merchants, and pilgrims from every corner of Asia echoed through the halls. The true scale of its cultural exchange was revealed in a single, sealed chamber forgotten for centuries. When this library cave was finally opened, it did not contain a single culture's treasure but a world's. Inside were tens of thousands of manuscripts, a chorus of voices written in Chinese, Tibetan, Sanskrit, and even Hebrew, all resting together in the dry desert air. This was not an isolated monastery, it was a global intellectual crossroads. The very walls of the caves tell the same story of connection. The breathtaking murals and sculptures are a visual fusion, blending the graceful Buddhas of India with the flowing lines of Chinese art and the vibrant decorative motifs of Persia. A single painting could unite artistic traditions from 3 different continents, proving that ideas were a cherished cargo, traded as freely as silk and spices. How did such a diverse collection of knowledge come to be stored in one remote desert location? Dunhuang was a vital pit stop and a spiritual sanctuary on the world's first great information superhighway. Travelers did not just bring goods, they brought their beliefs, their languages, and their art, depositing them in this sacred archive for safekeeping and sharing. This was a conscious, organized effort to build a universal repository of human wisdom, connecting East Asia with the Indian subcontinent and the Middle East through faith and knowledge. For a connection of a completely different scale, we must now turn from a library of texts to a cave of giants. The sea itself seems to sing within Fingal's cave. Carved into the Isle of Staffa, this cathedral of nature is formed from countless towering basalt columns, a perfect geometric puzzle of hexagons and pentagons that rise from the floor and stretch to the ceiling like the pipes of a colossal organ. When the Atlantic swells crash at its mouth, the entire cavern resonates with a deep, melodic hum, an otherworldly music that has stirred the human soul for centuries. But the true wonder of Fingal's is not contained by its own walls. Look across the sea to the coast of Northern Ireland, and you will find its perfect twin, the giant's Causeway. The geology is identical, the same staggering columns of cooled volcanic basalt. It is as if a single, impossible bridge once connected these two shores and then shattered, leaving only these two magnificent bookends. The people who lived near these formations saw this connection with their own eyes, and their imaginations wove an explanation that has lasted for generations. The legend tells of the Irish giant Finn McCool, who built the Causeway as a pathway to confront his Scottish rival. This is not just two similar caves, it is one story shared by two cultures, a single myth split between two lands. Here, the connection is not made of carved tunnels or traded artifacts, but of shared human wonder. Two different groups of people, separated by a treacherous stretch of ocean, looked upon the same impossible geology and independently created the same epic tale to explain it. This reveals a profound truth about our ancient ancestors. They were not just connected by physical trade routes, but by the very structure of their minds, by a universal desire to fill the unknown with stories of giants and gods. Does this shared impulse to mythologize the landscape point to an even deeper, more fundamental link between all human cultures? This question draws us toward a cave system so isolated and so strange that it seems to challenge our understanding of human capability itself. The legend of Finn McCool speaks to a shared human impulse, but in the heart of Turkey, we find a story carved not from myth, but from necessity. The Derinkuyu underground city is a feat of engineering that defies belief. This is not a single cave or a simple shelter. It is an entire metropolis carved deep into the soft volcanic rock of Cappadocia, a labyrinth descending 18 levels into the earth. At its peak, this subterranean world could house an astonishing 20,000 people, along with their livestock, food supplies, churches, and wineries. Imagine a city the size of a small town, but existing entirely in perpetual twilight, with fresh air supplied by ingeniously designed ventilation shafts that reached all the way to the surface. Its security was just as advanced, protected by massive, wheel-shaped stone doors that could be rolled shut to seal corridors, each one weighing half a ton. Derinkuyu was not alone. It is part of a vast network of hundreds of similar underground cities, some connected by tunnels stretching miles. While its most famous inhabitants were early Christians seeking refuge from persecution, the origins of this complex are far older, potentially reaching back to the Hittites thousands of years prior. This raises a profound question. Was the knowledge of how to build such a place developed independently, or was it a secret passed down and refined over countless generations? The drive to go underground seems to be a universal response to a universal threat. From the deserts of Persia to the highlands of Peru, cultures facing invasion, climate extremes, or other existential dangers made the same logical choice to disappear beneath the earth. They traded sunlight for survival. This pattern suggests that the idea of large-scale subterranean refuge could be an inevitable invention, a convergent evolution of human architecture born from shared desperation. But what could possibly drive a society to choose a life of such profound darkness? The answer may be preserved not in stone, but in ice within a cave that holds a perfect record of planetary panic. The subterranean metropolis of Derinkuyu reveals humanity's drive to seek safety in the earth, but another kind of cave preserves a record of a different kind of survival. High in the Austrian Alps, the Eisriesenwelt Ice Caves present a world of pure, frozen fantasy. As the largest known system of ice caves on our planet, its chambers are a shifting gallery of glacial waterfalls and colossal, shimmering pillars that form and reform over centuries. No ancient civilization could ever call this freezing, dark labyrinth home, yet its location is deeply significant. For millennia, the Alps have not been an impenetrable wall, but a corridor. The very presence of this cave system, looming above historic mountain passes, speaks to the incredible journeys undertaken by prehistoric traders and travelers. These people did not possess modern climbing gear or detailed maps. Their survival depended on a hard-won, specialized knowledge of the mountains, a deep understanding of which passes were safe, where to find shelter from a sudden storm, and how to read the landscape itself. This vital information was not invented by one isolated culture. It was a collective treasure, a body of practical wisdom that had to be shared and passed down through generations across different tribes and language groups. The Eisriesenwelt, in all its majestic and dangerous beauty, stands as a natural monument to this shared human experience. It represents the universal challenge of navigating an extreme environment, a challenge that forced cooperation and the exchange of knowledge between distant peoples who all lived in the shadow of the same formidable peaks. How did our ancestors perceive such awesome natural formations? Were they seen as the dwellings of mountain gods, as places of spiritual power, or simply as vital landmarks on a perilous journey? To answer that, we must descend into a cave that was deliberately transformed into a stage for cosmic ceremony. Deep within the jungles of Belize, the entrance to Actun Tunichil Muknal opens like a dark, watery mouth. To reach its inner chamber, you must swim through frigid, sapphire-toned pools, a journey that feels like crossing into another realm. This is the Cave of the Crystal Sepulchre, a place the ancient Maya considered a direct portal to Xibalba, their formidable underworld. It was not a place for the living, but for the gods and the dead. Inside, the air is heavy with silence and the passage of centuries. The most haunting sights are the crystallized remains of those sacrificed, their bones now encased in a shimmering layer of calcite deposited by the slow, patient drip of water from the cave ceiling. One young woman, known as the Crystal Maiden, lies where she was left, her skeleton transformed into a glittering monument. But the cave holds more than human remains. Its floors are a mosaic of shattered pottery, hundreds of vessels deliberately broken in a specific, ritualistic manner. This was not random destruction. The act of killing the pot, of breaking it to release its spirit, was a sacred offering meant to nourish the deities of the underworld. This very same pattern of ceremonial breakage is found in Maya sites across Guatemala and Mexico. Even more compelling are the similarities with rituals practiced by cultures in the distant Andes of South America, who also saw caves as conduits to the spirit world and performed analogous offerings. How could such a specific and complex set of religious practices appear in two regions separated by thousands of miles of impassable jungle? This points to something far more powerful than mere trade. It suggests a shared spiritual understanding of the cosmos, a belief system where the underworld was a tangible, influential force in daily life. The Maya ventured into these terrifying depths because they believed it was the only way to communicate with the powers that controlled rain, harvests, and life itself. Their journey was one of desperation and devotion, a plea for survival spoken through ritual and sacrifice. If a single cave could hold such profound spiritual significance for an entire civilization, what does it mean when we discover not just a sacred chamber, but an entire underground nation? The Ellora Caves are a symphony in stone, 34 monumental structures carved directly into the heart of a basalt cliff. Walking through this complex is like flipping through the pages of an ancient spiritual text, one where the chapters on Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism are written not with ink, but with chisel and hammer. For 4 centuries, artisans and monks labored here not in competition, but in a remarkable, sustained act of coexistence. The Buddhist caves at one end are serene halls for meditation, their colossal statues of the Buddha radiating a profound peace. Just a short walk away, the Hindu temples erupt with dynamic energy, their walls alive with intricate carvings depicting the epic tales of Shiva and Vishnu. And nestled between them, the Jain caves offer a vision of ascetic simplicity and precise geometry. This is not just architecture, it is a frozen dialogue. The very techniques used to carve these spaces, the methods for ventilating deep chambers and channeling light, show a shared pool of engineering knowledge that was refined and passed between these communities. The artistic styles themselves are a fusion, with motifs and sculptural forms traveling along the trade routes that linked Ellora to the wider world, absorbing influences from across the Indian subcontinent and even further afield. How did such a vibrant, multi-faith community thrive for so long in one place? Ellora stands as a powerful, tangible argument against the idea of ancient isolation. It proves that different belief systems could not only exist side by side but could inspire one another, creating a shared sacred landscape that celebrated their differences. This was a conscious, monumental effort to connect through faith. From this testament to the living spirit, our journey now descends into a cave that served as a bridge to the afterlife itself. The vibrant ochre and charcoal creatures of the Lascaux cave seemed to breathe in the flickering torchlight. When this sanctuary was accidentally discovered in 1940, the world was granted a stunning window into the mind of Ice Age Europe. The walls are a panorama of motion and life, depicting aurochs with sweeping horns, herds of wild horses, and elegant deer, all rendered with an anatomical precision and artistic flair that feels utterly modern. This is not crude graffiti, it is a masterpiece, a gallery of such profound skill that it has earned the name the Sistine Chapel of Prehistory. But Lascaux is not a lone wonder. The very same animals, painted with the same sophisticated techniques and spiritual reverence, appear on the walls of Altamira in Spain and in dozens of other caves scattered across the continent. This is not a coincidence, it is the signature of a shared culture. For the hunter-gatherers who roamed this frozen world 17,000 years ago, these deep caves were not random shelters. They were the sacred cathedrals of their time, central locations where communities separated by hundreds of miles would gather for rituals that we can only dimly perceive. They were places for initiation, for storytelling, for appeasing the spirits of the hunt. The common artistic language, from the shading techniques to the chosen subjects, proves that these people were not isolated bands struggling for survival. They were part of a vast, continent-wide social network, connected by shared beliefs and a common symbolic language that could traverse mountain ranges and cross rivers. They were exchanging more than just genes or resources. They were exchanging ideas, myths, and a unified vision of their world. This network of painted caves formed an invisible web of culture, linking the human mind across a wilderness we once thought was empty. Just as this ancient web was hidden for millennia, another cave system, discovered in our own modern era, would reveal a connection so unexpected it would rewrite the story of the Americas. A sealed world exists deep beneath the plains of Romania. The Movile Cave was completely cut off from the surface for an estimated 5.5 million years, its entrance only uncovered by chance in 1986. Inside this airtight vault, researchers found an ecosystem unlike any other on Earth. In the perpetual darkness, with air toxic to humans and water rich in hydrogen sulfide, life did not just persist, it thrived in a bizarre and unique form. The base of this entire food chain is not the sun, but chemosynthetic bacteria. These microscopic organisms derive their energy not from photosynthesis, but from processing chemicals in the cave's air and water, creating a foundation for a whole community of strange, troglodytic creatures, from blind spiders to colorless scorpions. This self-contained world, a bubble of life operating on entirely different rules, forces us to reconsider the very definition of isolation. While no ancient human ever set foot here, its discovery echoes a theme found in the creation stories of cultures worldwide. From the dark, watery chaos of ancient Egyptian myth to the deep abyss of the Babylonian Enuma Elish, humanity has consistently envisioned life emerging from dark, enclosed, primordial spaces. The Movile Cave is a real-world version of that cosmic womb, a place where life proved its resilience and ingenuity in absolute solitude. It connects us not to other cultures, but to the fundamental mystery of existence that all ancient people sought to explain. If life can flourish in such profound isolation, what does that say about the potential for innovation when cultures are connected? This question leads us to a cave that was not a sealed world, but a bustling workshop of human ingenuity. The bones within Shanidar Cave tell a story not of brutal survival, but of profound humanity. Nestled in the Zagros Mountains of Iraq, this site rewrote our understanding of our closest ancient relatives, the Neanderthals. Among the remains discovered here, one set stands out, an individual known as Shanidar I. His skeleton reveals a life of immense hardship, a catalogue of injuries that would have been a death sentence without help. He was profoundly deaf, had a crippling injury to one arm, and walked with a severe limp. Yet he lived to a relatively old age. His survival was only possible through the direct, sustained care of his community. They must have provided him with food, protected him from predators, and helped him navigate a dangerous world. This is not the behavior of simple brutes. It is a clear, archaeological testament to compassion, a social safety net that existed tens of thousands of years before our own. Then there is the mystery of Shanidar IV. When this individual was excavated, clumps of ancient pollen were found concentrated around the body. The most compelling interpretation is that these were the remains of flowers deliberately placed in a grave. If this is true, it is staggering. It suggests a ritual, a funeral practice imbued with symbolism, and perhaps a belief in something beyond the physical world. A flower is not food, it is not a tool. It is beauty, it is scent, it is an offering. These two discoveries together, the care for the disabled and the potential for flower burials, shatter the old image of the Neanderthal. They point to a species capable of empathy, of grief, and of symbolic thought, traits we have long considered the exclusive hallmark of our own species, Homo sapiens. This cave forces us to ask a deeply unsettling question. Were these universal human traits not born solely within us? Could they have been shared, developed in parallel, or even learned through interaction between our species? The evidence from Shanidar suggests that the roots of human culture, of our capacity for love and ritual, run much deeper in time and are far more widely shared than we ever imagined. This profound connection to our ancient cousins makes the next step in our journey all the more compelling, as we seek a place where humanity sought not to bury the dead, but to speak directly to the gods themselves. The Sibyl of Cumae spoke from a place of calculated darkness. Her cave was no natural formation, but a feat of ancient engineering. A long, trapezoidal corridor carved straight into the rock, leading to a chamber where this legendary prophetess was said to channel the divine. In Virgil's epic, the Aeneid, it is here that she guides the hero Aeneas on his journey to the underworld, acting as the intermediary between the mortal realm and the world of the gods. This was not merely a story, it was a reflection of a deep-seated belief shared across the ancient world. The idea of the cave as a prophetic space, a crack in the world where the veil between humanity and the divine grew thin, appears again and again. From the oracle at Delphi, who was said to inhale vapors rising from a chasm in the earth, to the sacred grottos dedicated to gods in Anatolia, the pattern is unmistakable. Cultures separated by vast stretches of sea and mountain ranges all looked downward for their visions. They believed that truth and foresight flowed upward from the depths, as if the earth itself held a secret wisdom. How did this specific religious concept become so universal across the Mediterranean and Near East? The movement of people, the constant trade and colonization that linked Greece to Italy and the Phoenician coast to North Africa, provided a superhighway for beliefs. Pilgrims, soldiers, and merchants would have carried tales of these powerful oracles with them, seeding the idea in new lands where local rulers, eager to claim the same divine access, would commission their own sacred caves. This was a spiritual network, as real and as active as any trade route in silk or spices. The physical evidence for this connection may lie not on land, but beneath the waves, in a vast underwater system that could have served as a literal conduit for this shared belief. Water now fills a world that was once walked by giants. The Sistema Sac Actun in Mexico is a submerged kingdom, a sunless realm of flooded corridors that weaves for nearly 250 miles beneath the Yucatan Peninsula. Today, it is the domain of cave divers who navigate its silent, crystal-clear passages. But 13,000 years ago, this entire labyrinth was dry, a series of caves and tunnels threading through a landscape teeming with life. The rising seas at the end of the last ice age did not destroy this world, they preserved it in a perfect, watery tomb. Within these flooded chambers, the bones of fantastic creatures have been found, including the massive skeletons of giant ground sloths and saber-toothed cats, animals that vanished from the earth millennia ago. Yet the most profound discovery was not of an animal, but of a person. Deep inside this system, explorers found the nearly complete skeleton of a young woman, a teenager they named Nea. She had fallen to her death in a pit, her bones resting undisturbed for over 12,000 years. The analysis of her genetic material provided a stunning revelation. Nea's DNA shows a direct, unbroken link to the very first people who crossed into the Americas, and it also matches that of modern Native American populations. She is a missing piece of the human puzzle, concrete proof of a deep, ancestral connection spanning thousands of years. These cenotes, these natural sinkholes that serve as entrances to the cave system, were far more than just water sources for Nea and her people. They were the central landmarks of their entire world, the crossroads where the practical need for fresh water met the spiritual need for meaning. They were portals to the underworld, places of ritual and offerings, connecting communities not just by paths on the surface, but by a shared, sacred geography that saw the earth itself as a living being. The entire continent was mapped by these vital, revered waterholes. Does this underwater archive hold the final clues to the greatest migration story of all, the peopling of the Americas? Each new dive into its darkness brings us closer to the first footsteps on a forgotten landscape. From this submerged world of the first Americans, we turn to a cave that is a monument to one man's quest for eternity. Deep beneath the Polish town of Wieliczka, a kingdom of salt has been growing for over 700 years. The Royal Salt Mine is not a dark, cramped pit, but a breathtaking subterranean city of corridors, grand halls, and crystalline lakes, all carved by hand from solid rock salt. For centuries, this was an industrial powerhouse, the source of white gold that fueled the Polish economy and connected it to trade routes stretching across Europe. But the miners did more than just extract a resource. They built a monument to their own humanity deep within the earth. They carved elaborate statues from the salt rock, depicting mythic figures and historical kings. Their ultimate achievement is the stunning Chapel of St. Kinga, an underground cathedral where every single element, from the towering altarpieces depicting biblical scenes to the dazzling chandeliers, is intricately carved from salt crystals. This was a functional mine, yet the workers chose to invest immense effort into creating a place of profound beauty and spiritual solace. The very air in the chapel is said to be therapeutic, and the space has drawn not only praying miners but also curious travelers and pilgrims for centuries. It became a destination, a place where the practical and the sacred merged into one. The salt extracted from these chambers was a commodity that traveled, linking the local community to the wider world through commerce. But the mine itself, with its astonishing artistic creations, became a different kind of connector, a cultural and spiritual landmark that attracted visitors from every corner of the continent. How does a simple resource like salt forge such deep connections? It begins as a biological necessity, a substance every human culture needs to survive. But it quickly becomes a medium for trade, for taxation, and for art. The wealth from this salt built fortunes and funded kingdoms, weaving Poland into the fabric of medieval and Renaissance Europe. The mine stands as a powerful testament to a universal human truth. We are driven not just to take from the earth, but to create meaning from what we find. We transform functional spaces into sacred ones, and we use the very materials of our labor to express our deepest hopes and beliefs. This final journey into the earth reveals a network not of stone, but of human spirit. The darkness of Son Doong Cave in Vietnam is a world of its own. This is the largest natural cave on our planet, a cavern so immense that clouds form under its ceiling and a full-grown jungle thrives on its floor, a place where the weather itself is born from the stone. For millions of years, this colossal system grew in perfect isolation, its existence unknown to anyone until a local farmer stumbled upon its entrance in 1991. There are no ancient petroglyphs on these walls, no lost artifacts or signs of human passage. Its story is one of pure geology, a testament to the planet's patient, hidden creativity. And yet, its very existence completes our journey in a profound way. Son Doong stands as the ultimate metaphor for the unknown. It reminds us that for all the connections we have traced across continents and through time, there are still vast, unexplored spaces on our map. Our understanding of the ancient world is not a closed book, but a living story with new chapters still being written in the dark. What other subterranean networks, what other lost pathways between cultures might still be waiting in the unlit corners of the earth, holding secrets we have not yet dreamed of? After crossing from Kentucky to Vietnam, from the Ice Age to the Bronze Age, what common threads can we now see weaving through all these mysterious caves? These 20 journeys into the earth reveal a story far grander than any single cave. A profound pattern emerges, connecting humanity across every continent and era through the very ground beneath our feet. One universal impulse stands out, the undeniable human drive to explore the darkness. Whether seeking shelter from a storm in Derinkuyu, mining for gypsum in the immense blackness of Mammoth Cave, or simply following a passage to see where it leads, our ancestors consistently demonstrated a courage to venture below. This was not mere survival, it was a fundamental expression of curiosity, a need to understand every part of the world, even those parts perpetually shrouded in night. Alongside this drive, we find a shared spiritual map. From the Maya's dreaded Xibalba to the Greek oracle's prophetic chamber, cultures worldwide envisioned caves as liminal spaces, as sacred thresholds between our world and another. This was not a coincidence passed along a trade route. This feels like something deeper, a layer of the human psyche that instinctively associates the underground with the ancestral, the divine, and the mysterious cycles of death and rebirth. The very same ritual of breaking pots to release their spirits was performed in the jungles of Belize and in the high Andes, a stunning parallel of belief born from a shared view of the cosmos. And then there is the tangible evidence of connection itself. The alderly edge armlet with its continental designs, the Buddhist art of Ajanta echoing along the Silk Road, the identical hand stencils in French and Spanish caves, all these are the fingerprints of a networked ancient world. This was not a single global village, but a series of vibrant, overlapping webs. Ideas, art, and genes traveled along routes of trade and migration, with caves often serving as the perfect way stations, temples, and landmarks along these paths. They were the nodes in a complex system of human interaction. So how do we continue to unravel this web? The answer lies in looking both down and within. We must support the divers exploring submerged systems like Sac Actun, where entire chapters of human migration are preserved in flooded time capsules. We must listen to the oral histories and legends of indigenous peoples, which often hold the keys to understanding the spiritual significance of these places. And we must look inward to that shared human spark of curiosity that still draws us to the mouth of a dark cave, wondering what secrets it holds about who we are and who we have always been, connected not by stone but by story. These 20 journeys into the earth reveal a story far grander than any single cave. A profound pattern emerges, connecting humanity across every continent and era through the very ground beneath our feet. One universal impulse stands out, the undeniable human drive to explore the darkness. Whether seeking shelter from a storm in Derinkuyu, mining for gypsum in the immense blackness of Mammoth Cave, or simply following a passage to see where it leads, our ancestors consistently demonstrated a courage to venture below. This was not mere survival, it was a fundamental expression of curiosity, a need to understand every part of the world, even those parts perpetually shrouded in night. Alongside this drive, we find a shared spiritual map. From the Maya's dreaded Xibalba to the Greek oracle's prophetic chamber, cultures worldwide envisioned caves as liminal spaces, as sacred thresholds between our world and another. This was not a coincidence passed along a trade route. This feels like something deeper, a layer of the human psyche that instinctively associates the underground with the ancestral, the divine, and the mysterious cycles of death and rebirth. The very same ritual of breaking pots to release their spirits was performed in the jungles of Belize and in the high Andes, a stunning parallel of belief born from a shared view of the cosmos. And then there is the tangible evidence of connection itself. The alderly edge armlet with its continental designs, the Buddhist art of Ajanta echoing along the Silk Road, the identical hand stencils in French and Spanish caves, all these are the fingerprints of a networked ancient world. This was not a single global village, but a series of vibrant, overlapping webs. Ideas, art, and genes traveled along routes of trade and migration, with caves often serving as the perfect way stations, temples, and landmarks along these paths. They were the nodes in a complex system of human interaction. So how do we continue to unravel this web? the answer lies in looking both down and within. We must support the divers exploring submerged systems like Sac Actun, where entire chapters of human migration are preserved in flooded time capsules. We must listen to the oral histories and legends of indigenous peoples, which often hold the keys to understanding the spiritual significance of these places. And we must look inward to that shared human spark of curiosity that still draws us to the mouth of a dark cave, wondering what secrets it holds about who we are and who we have always been, connected not by stone but by story.